Hi everyone, it's Gary here with your bluenose bulletin for Friday, the 4th of October 2024, and loads to cover on today's show here on the 4th Officials YouTube channel. A very warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The big headline going into today's bulletin was, of course, last night's disappointing 4-1 loss to Lyon at Ibrox in the Europa League, where Rangers were very much exposed by an impressive performance from Lyon's front three and left to regret and rue some missed opportunities early in the game as the French side very much showed their dominance in the first and second half to really take advantage of some poor play from Rangers and take all 3 points, leaving Rangers down in 19th place in the Europa League table. Full analysis on the game to come on the Fourth Officials Patreon channel, but felt it was worthwhile just kind of talking through some of the kind of main talking points from the game. And I think looking back on it, making those opportunities in the first 10 minutes, the chances spurned by both James Tavernier and, more importantly, Václav Černý before the opening goal from Lyon could have made it a very different evening. Václav Černy's miss in particular, really, really costly, as within just a minute they go straight up the park and the ball is in the back of the net. And whilst Alexandre Lacazette will get a lot of praise for the third goal that he scores, the performances from the wingers, Cherki and Fofana, gave Yefte and James Tavernier all sorts of problems in the wide areas. And I think continued to kind of show up Philippe Clement's kind of persistence with his current tactic of playing that kind of 4-2-3-1 formation. Both Václav Černý and Nadim Bayrami giving very little cover in terms of the flanks, leaving Sav and Yefte particularly exposed. And I think when you look at better players, which Cherki and Fofana certainly on their day were all over Rangers at the back, and they were particularly impressive, kind of taking full advantage of the fact that they had plenty of space out there, and the pace that they had meant that they were incredibly threatening every time that they got the ball. The manager's decision to take James Tavernier off when the game was at 4-1, I think will get a huge amount of headlines, and rightly so, because James Tavernier is a player who very rarely has ever been substituted by any Rangers manager during his 9 years at the club. And it's further noise that's being added towards the kind of ongoing saga regarding James Tavernier and the should he stay, should he go debate that happened all the way through the summer. And of course, he didn't manage to get a deal to Saudi or to Turkey or anywhere else. But I think it's fair to say that his form in the opening weeks of this season has been far from the James Tavernier of old. And again, last night left very much exposed. And for the fourth Lyon goal, caught on his heels at the back post, not for the first time. And it's a goal that Rangers have conceded on many times, whether it's behind James Tavernier or behind Borna Barisic in particular at Parkhead, for example. So it's something that the manager will certainly have to get better at in terms of setting Rangers up, because we've got some very difficult games coming up in the rest of this Europa League group stage, with trips to Olympiacos, trips to Manchester to play Man United in a row there. A bit of the bin fire at the moment as well, but they have players with pace and the ability to hurt Rangers defensively. We've got Tottenham at home, Union Saint-Gilloise, trips to Nice. So it's not going to be an easy trip. And next time round, Rangers play Steaua Bucharest at Ibrox in a game that is an absolute must-win if Rangers have got any desire to see knockout football in the Europa League and trying to get through this group stage with those games coming up, Olympiacos, Man United, Tottenham, for example. So that's a real kind of big test that we're going to have to try and get over. And Steaua Bucharest are on 2 wins out of 2 so far after a couple of really good victories so far in the tournament. So that game is going to be far from easy, and something that will certainly need to be a lot better than what we were last night. And Jack Butland's post-match comments, I thought, were very, very interesting in terms of wanting Rangers to maybe look at a slightly different approach, maybe being a little bit more pragmatic. You think of the success that we had in this competition a couple of years back under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. It was down to being tactically flexible, with the likes of John Lundstrom dropping back into a back three at times to give us an extra man in there. And I think last night, both Connor Barron and Mo Diamandi were left out gunned, I think, in the middle of the park. Tom Lawrence going off injured at half time to be replaced by Kieran Dowell, I don't think helped us in terms of bodies in the middle of the park. And certainly Phil Clement was far too late in making the changes in terms of bringing on the likes of Dujon Sterling or Narisho Cashandiro to have a bit more pace and power at the back and more cover to try and help, because we were getting very little out of the likes of Cherny. And as much as Nadine Bayrami had some nice touches and was far and away our most influential player in terms of an attacking sense, we didn't get too much cover from him playing on the wide. And I think that's something that we're going to have to look at in these big games, as to whether or not him on the left-hand side in front of Yefty just leaves the young Brazilian just a little bit too exposed, because certainly Roman Cherki took advantage of that last night. And Lyon were certainly good value for the 3 points in the 4-1 victory. So back to drawing board for Rangers and Philippe Clement, and we've got a big game on Sunday in the league as St Johnstone come calling in that 8 p.m. kickoff at Ibrox. One other note to come out of last night's game was the pyrotechnics display from the Union Bears in the Copeland stand, and it's something that's got a lot of Rangers fans potentially worried about potential UEFA consequences of that, because there is precedence elsewhere this season where the Swiss side Servette, from their game against Chelsea earlier on this season in August, the Swiss side getting a fine of €43,000 due to the letting off of pyrotechnics under the stadium, and also a section of the stadium being closed for the next Servette home game. So there's certainly a lot of precedent there, and the fact that the referee had to stop the game last night due to the pyrotechnic display and fireworks being set in and around the stadium, it's certainly making a few people around the club a little bit nervous in terms of potential sanctions that will come. The incident was mentioned in the UEFA delegates report from the match last night, so we'd be massively surprised if there isn't some repercussions off the back of that